Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show. We'll cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things. And we see them in today. We have a very interesting show for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Well, as you guys know, LeBron has a lot of followers and media that support him, a lot of players that support him. But there are some players that are not fans of LeBron James. And one of those players in particular is Kanter. Now, if you guys know, Kanter was a former NBA player. He used to play with the New York Knicks. He has some pretty strong views on various issues. There have even been times when him and LeBron have kind of gotten into little physical scuffles here and there on the basketball court. So he is not a fan of LeBron whatsoever, right? So this morning I was doing some research and I came across an article here this morning from fadeawayworld.net. And the article essentially had the headline which said, Enes Kanter calls LeBron James the dictator of the NBA. The dictator of the NBA. And I was like, well, those are pretty strong comments, but I'm like, I'm very curious to hear why Enes Kanter will call him that, because I personally have my views on LeBron and how he tries to control the media, and I'm not the only one. Stephen A. Smith and others have their views. But I was very interested to see why Enes Kanter would decide to call LeBron James the dictator of the NBA. So those are the comments that we want to get into. That's the article that we want to focus on today. But before we even get into what Enes Kanter had to say, today's video is brought to you by sponsor Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. For example, I am super excited about the upcoming MLB games. With Game Time tickets, I can easily pick the best tickets for me. I love that I can choose between different deals. I have the option to select the cheaper deal, the best option deal, or my favorite, the flash deal. The flash deal gives me the option to find discounts that I can only find on Game Time. Once I select the ticket I want, I can view my seat. And it's not just restricted to baseball. I can also look for the best ticket deals for other sports like football, the NBA, concerts, comedy, or other theater shows. Included in my purchase, I also have a 24-hour return guarantee, a lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So let me get into what the article had to say here. It continues on. Former NBA center Enes Kanter has once again voiced his strong opinions about LeBron James, this time launching a scathing attack on the superstar by labeling him the dictator of the NBA. In an interview with Outkick.com, Kanter expressed his belief that LeBron wields an excessive amount of control over the league, influencing both media narratives and team dynamics. He might be a good dude, but he's not good enough to play in the NBA. The reason he got drafted is because of LeBron. The reason JJ Redick is the coach is because of LeBron. No other player wants to go play with LeBron. When the Lakers season fails, LeBron tries to find a player to blame, and he blamed the whole season on Russell Westbrook. So he's not a good teammate. Obviously, he runs the media and tries to control this narrative. But when you actually know and have a conversation inside of the NBA and its players, nobody wants to play with him. When I see a dictator, I know it. LeBron is literally the dictator of the NBA. He controls the media. He controls his narrative. If you go against his agenda, you get traded. Everybody knows it. The former center who spent 13 seasons in the NBA claimed that many players shared his view, but are hesitant to speak out. He specifically criticized the selection of LeBron's son, Bronny James, by the Los Angeles Lakers in the draft, suggesting that nepotism played a role. The article then said Kanter also took aim at the Lakers' new head coach, JJ Redick, implying that his appointment was influenced by his relationship with LeBron. This assertion aligns with Kanter's broader critique that LeBron uses his influence to shape decisions within the league. And then the article goes on to say one or two other things there. What are my thoughts on some of the things that he said? Well, let's take it bit by bit. Let's talk about the Bronny factor. Was LeBron a major reason that Bronny got drafted? 100%, so we can move on from that. Let's get into the JJ Redick factor. Was LeBron James a major component in terms of a reason being the JJ Redick got hired? I think it's safe to assume that he played a role, right? That if LeBron endorses a coach like that, chances are the team is going to look in his direction. So you have that as well. Now let's look at the part about LeBron controlling media narratives. I think in that instant, I think Enes Kanter is 100% on the money, and I don't think there's any speculation here because Enes Kanter isn't the only one that has said this. Stephen A. Smith, who's in the know, who's involved with the Vogue, he knows what's going on, and he says something like this. He's even given examples of how it works, how they try to control narratives by basically explaining once that essentially Kendrick Perkins was going out there on ESPN saying things that Clutch Sports and these guys didn't agree with, and they would privately contact him because of his views and try to get him to change his position on certain things. So we have many examples of this. Here's the larger problem with all of this about what Enes Kanter is talking about. I believe that, look, this stuff, this thing of this fetish to control the media and control the narrative, I believe is having a detrimental impact on some NBA fans, because some NBA fans, their brains are so fried and cooked that they cannot take or withstand another viewpoint that doesn't have to do with basically worshiping LeBron. And that's essentially what you're having. You have some people that say, for an example, Stephen A. Smith has disclosed some conversations that he's had with Rich Paul. Stephen A. Smith said, I have Michael Jordan as the greatest player of all time. Then he said, I have LeBron as the number 2 greatest player of all time. Do you know what Rich Paul said to Stephen A. Smith? I find that to be disrespectful. And that's where we are. So what happens is when you have other people that go out there and say, no, I think Kobe's better. No, I think Tim Duncan is better. No, I think Magic Johnson is better. I think this person is better. People just basically lose their minds. They essentially just lose their minds, and then you see emotions begin to run high. Right. And there are many examples of LeBron fans not being able to curtail their emotions, and they just let their emotions get the best of them. I see them every day on YouTube, doing shows, cussing people out, and shouting and hollering and screaming out. We know them, right? And then sometimes they even go to the extent of now insulting other people. They'll insult your background and all. For LeBron, a person that will never know. A person that will never know that they exist. But they take it to those extremes. And for what? I don't know why. Because somebody said, oh, I don't have LeBron in my top 5. All of a sudden, we got a problem. Now, all of a sudden, you want to fight. Now, all of a sudden, we're implementing no-fly zones. Really? I blame these guys for it. They have fried people's brains to the point where now, if you don't have LeBron in your top 5, your top 2, your top 3, all of a sudden, we got to fight. Now it's a problem. This is the negative impact that it's having. Unfortunately. And I think LeBron's power lies in the people he can control in media. The minute those people start coming out there and saying what they truly believe, the power dissipates, it disappears, it vanishes. That's what happens. His influence on you guys is through people he has out there going out there and preaching his gospel. The Nick Rice, the Shannon Sharps, the Kendrick Perkins at a certain point, and all of these other people in media that are associated with him in an overt or covert way. And then that's what happens, right? But luckily, what's happening now is that we have the independent sector, right? And then there are other people out there with different views and opinions that are not tied into any interest groups. The rest of some of these guys are just cronies, man. That's what we see in politics. And I think that's what we're talking about. And I don't think it's good for the business of sports. I think what is better is that these guys should have their views and other people should be allowed to have their views as well. That's my personal take on it. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you guys on the next show. Peace.